Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we'll discuss about is normalization in SQL, how the normalization will be achieved in SQL. So we'll be learning now. Okay, so before that, we have to know about the basic concept of this normalization. What are those? I would say this is attributes. Attributes. First important thing is we have to learn this attribute. So what are the attributes are present in the SQL? We'll discuss everything. So before that, let us understand what exactly the meaning of this attributes. So what is attributes? I would say that are the properties. We can easily say this is some properties which define our entity or object, which defines the entity or object. So if you select any object, so that is your with the entity, and the attributes is nothing but that is these are all the properties actually. So it is clearly defining about the entity or object. So total we have 7 attributes in SQL. Okay, so now we'll discuss what are those. So first let me change this color. uh, First I would say this one is candidate key. Candidate key or key attribute, which will be same key attribute. So this is my first one. The second one, I would say this is non key attribute. Non key attribute. The third one, I would say this prime key attribute. Prime key attribute. And fourth one, non-prime key attribute. Fifth one is so composite key attribute. Composite key attribute. The sixth one is super key attribute. Super key attribute. And the seventh one is last foreign key attribute. Foreign key attribute. So these all are different attributes which will be available in the SQL. So why do we go with the attributes? Because if any customers or any client, if to give the details or requirement, so we have to identify so what are the different keys are present in our details. So after this, based on the key, we have to identify some unique data, or we can identify some non-unique data. Everything we can make sure that. So that's why we have to follow this key attributes. Okay, so let me take this first attribute. So what does say the first attribute? So actually, so this is one of the attribute which is used to identify the records uniquely from the table. Okay, so candidate key. Let me type it. So before that, let me change this color. So this is what actually it is, attributes. So it is used to, okay, I'm changing this color. It is used to identify record uniquely from the table or uniquely from the object. So actually is known as candidate key. Candidate key. So this is a simple definition to be understood. So now we'll discuss this some example about this example. What are the different example we have for this? So if you select human is my object, okay, let me select human is my object. Human is a object or a entity. So what if select human as an object? So human as some unique identity. So what are the unique identity have in the human? So first let me select this a phone number. Yes, all human have the phone number, but it is unique. Each and everyone has the different phone number. So that's why I consider it's one of the candidate key, and majority of the people have this mail address. So that is also we consider one of the candidate key, because it is also used to give the unique identification of the human. And so nowadays it's a famous thing is Aadhaar card. So I hope each and every human will be having this, and in future also they will be having, and already some people had this Aadhaar. And if you have a PAN card, okay, PAN card is also we consider, and passport is a most important thing. Passport also we consider as a one of the thing, and DL. So like this we can select some different attribute which is represent the unique identity of the particular object. So phone number and mail ID, address, Aadhaar card, passport, DL, these all belongs to the candidate key. So similar manner I am going to write this my second one is what? Non key attribute. Non-key attribute. So what exactly the meaning of this non-key attribute? So these all are, it will not giving the unique identifications. Sometimes it might be a duplicate value, but sometimes the value does not have this. So that's why I would say this is a non-key attributes. So completely I can directly say all the attributes, these all are the attributes, all are the attributes other than the candidate key. So human has a different properties. Candidate keys represent only the unique identity, but this non-key attribute, so remaining whatever the attributes we can consider, that will be represented by the non-key attribute. Same example, but the properties are different. So I just copy to paste over here. That's it. So when comes to this non-key attributes, very simple. Human as a name. So you can select a name, and human as the gender. Okay, it might be a repeated, names also be repeated, and age also be repeated, and date of birth. Okay, in the same date so many people can also born. So that's why these all are, and height of the human, race, I mean color of the human. Okay, so these my things are same in the human, I mean my object. So that's why these all are considered as a non-key attributes. So now we'll talk about this third one. So what is the third one? prime key attribute. Prime key attribute. So prime key attribute, which is nothing but it is your primary key. So I would write in the bracket primary key. So primary key means it is also used to identify the records uniquely from the table. So then what is the difference between this candidate key and primary key? Say it has some rules and regulation when you are doing the primary key. In the next video I will talk about this, how the primary key will be working and foreign key will be working. So before that you try to understand this. Prime key attribute means, so here so many candidate attributes, candidate key are there. So among this I'm going to select only one attribute, and I'll consider as a unique identity data. So that is called as prime key attribute. So among the candidate key, an attribute is chosen to be the main attribute or main or important, I can say important attribute used to identify a record uniquely from the table, which means here are so many candidate keys. All this the ones complete, different unique identity attribute called as candidate key. Okay, it's always, it has more than one, but here not like this. When it comes to this primary key, so it must have only one attribute. So here I'm going to select one is my prime key. Okay, so if I select this phone number, the phone number will become my prime key attribute or primary key. So this is how we represent this prime key attribute. The next one is fourth. Fourth is non-prime key attribute. I'll just copy this and I'll type it as non-prime key attribute. So what it does mean, non-prime key attribute doesn't mean that, so it is not a primary key, that's it. So remaining candidate case, okay, I have selected this phone number as my prime key attribute. Remaining attribute is called as non-prime key attribute, but it has a behavior to make it an attributes, but so I didn't select over here, so that's why I would say these all are non-prime key attribute. So what does it mean? It says all the, let me change this color, all the attribute, I would say all these key attribute, this key attribute other than the primary key, that's it. So this is known as non-prime key attribute. So next, the fifth fifth point. Composite key attribute. Composite key attribute. What it is say? Composite key attribute is nothing but it always is a combination of the multiple attributes. So that is called as composite key attributes. Okay, so I would say it's an it's a combination of one or more non-key attribute or non-key attribute. So what does mean a non-key attribute? Non-key attribute means it might be a attributes, it can be accepted with duplicate and null values, so that is called as non-key attributes. So it's a combination of more than one or more non-key attribute, and by using this also used to identify the record, unique records used to identify the unique records from the table, So this is also again we have to use to identify the record uniquely from the table, but it is not a candidate key, or it is not a non-prime key attribute. So using this non-key attribute, we are going to get the things. Okay, actually we'll get confused, so I'll give a very simple manner definition to understand this. Very simple. Just a minute. Yes, I'll give one definition. What is the definition? Composite key attribute. So we have to identify when it will be identified. Second. This key, composite key, are actually found whenever no key attributes present in the table we consider as a composite key. So now we can easily identify this key attributes, composite key attribute. So this is the main important point, you will be remember this. When we can easily identify this, there is no key attributes, no key attributes present. So now I am going to select this example as same. This one I am going to select. Sometime, okay, by using the age we can easily identify, but if I have a one attribute I cannot identify, because same person the different person has the same ages, so that's why we use two attributes, then we can easily identify this composite key. So the next the sixth one is super key attribute. So what does mean the super key attribute? It's I can say it's a set, it's a complete set of all key attributes. So what does mean it's set of all key attributes? So here I can go, this is my example of this candidate key. So this all complete set, we would say this is super key attributes. If I select the same example, so it will be written in the curly braces. This is called as a set. It's a huge set. In the set, all the special attributes are present. So this is known as super key attribute. And the last one, this is my last key attribute. This foreign key attribute. So what this means is foreign key attribute. Okay, so this is actually the one of the attribute, an attribute which is used to identify a record uniquely from the table. I cannot say it like this because foreign key it is always used to establish the connection between the table. So when we are creating or making a relationship between the multiple attributes, we use foreign key attributes. So that's why I can say this is one of the attribute which completely behaves, it actually behaves as an attribute of another entity, another entity to represent the relationship, represent the relationship. Else it's highly get difficult means you can just go through this definition. Or one more definition is to establish connection between the table. So it is also we can use. So what are those? See, the primary key can only become a foreign key. So let me take it as example. So I have already selected my primary key. Actually, this phone number. The same phone number will be a foreign key in another table. So this is how we identify attributes and customer requirement. So after this, what actually we do is we follow one more different method. So that is my dependencies. Whenever we have some dependencies, so we have to break down the dependencies. Dependencies should not be present in our table. So I am going to talk about now this dependency, functional dependency. What are those functional dependency? First we'll talk about this, what exactly the meaning of this functional dependency. So there is an exists dependency, there is exists dependency, exists dependency such that an attribute, there is an exists dependency such that an attribute in a relationship, okay, actually the other attributes are in the attributes or in a relationship relation determines the another attribute, determines the another attribute. So this is known as functional dependency. So the functional dependency has been classified into three types. Classified into the three types, three classification in the functional dependency. So what are those? The first one, first one. And the dependency is a very important. So when you are doing the normalization, this actually plays a very vital role in this normalization. So please be careful and concentrately listen these concepts. So the first one, total functional dependency. First one is total functional dependency. Second one, partial functional dependency. So this is a very important, partial functional dependency. The last one is transitive functional dependency. Transitive functional dependency. Total 3 dependency we have. So if any dependencies is present in this table, we have to break down it. So before going to this normalization, we'll understand this all functional dependencies. So let us talk about first one is total functional dependency. What does it mean? Yes, I just made a copy, and I would say this is a very simple definition to understand. So all attributes are depending on one attribute. All attributes are depending on one attribute known as total functional dependency. I would say, let me write in the shortcut way. This is all attributes are depending on one attribute is known as total functional dependency. Let me take it as example, employee table. So in this employee table, this is my entity. Let me write this entity. So the employee has some values. Okay, so let me give the table. So just take it as this 4. Employee has employee ID and employee name and salary of the employee and date of joining of the employee. So this is my main attribute, I would say. This is my main attribute. Let me write in the parenthesis primary key. And let me give some values. This is 1. Let me write this Smith. Okay, we all always used to use this Smith, and now I go with Jack, and Jack's salary is 5,000 and date of joining is 03 June 1999. Okay, so just one date I have written. So here this name and salary and date of join, these 3 attributes are mainly depending on the main attribute, that is my employee ID. Okay, so now I would say this key attribute. Here I am going to represent my key attribute is, okay, so I can directly say this is prime key attribute. Which one is my prime key attribute? Employee ID is my prime key attribute. And non-key attributes, what are those? Non-key attributes are name, sal, data. These all are non-key attributes. These all attributes are depending on main attribute. Attributes are depending on the employee ID. So this is a representation of this. All attributes are depending on our main attributes, all non-key attributes especially. Second one, partial functional dependency. What exactly is partial functional dependency? So here partial means no attributes, means there is no single attribute or prime key attribute in the table. So here multiple prime key attributes might be there, so that is a partial functional dependency. So now I would give so a part of composite key, a part of composite key, because when do we found this composite key? When there is no primary key present. So before going to the table, so let us understand this definition. Some part of the composite key attributes determine another attribute uniquely, So what does it mean? See, so the definition are quite difficult, but it's okay. I will make it as easy, so don't bother. Just take it as my table. In this table, I am going to select my columns. Same again, I am going to select this. My entity is employee. In this employee, I would write this employee name, salary of the employee, and employee has a phone number and employee as a mail address. Okay, so let me write Jack and Don. So the salary about the persons is 5,000, 2,000, and his phone number is just 1,000, some just random phone number I just used over here. And Don doesn't have his phone number, and here the person Jack doesn't has the mail ID, but Don has a mail ID at gmail.com. And let me create one more as a Groot. The person Groot earning 3,000 rupees and is also having some phone number. This is a phone number, and so Groot is also having the Gmail address at yahoo.com. And one more person again, Don is there, but so he's a different entity and he's earning 1,500 salary, and he has a phone number, different phone number, and Don at gmail.com. Okay, for understanding purpose, let me type it as null. This is also null. Okay, so now we can identify which kind of attributes are present over here. So I can easily say this all are non-key attributes. Okay, so there is no key attributes are present. So but I want to identify. So when I see this phone number and mail, when we was learning this candidate keys, yes, this column has to be candidate key, but according to this table I cannot say this is a candidate key. So instead of this candidate key, now I would say this is my composite key. So what does composite key says? It more than one non-key attribute represent the data uniquely from the table. So this is my composite key. I would select this composite key. Let me mark it over here. Yes, just and let me type over here. This is my composite key. So whenever we have a composite key, so that is actually the partial functional dependency. How it will be partial functional dependency? So very simple, this employee name and salary depending on the both phone number and a mail address. So this is known as partial functional dependency. Partial means a 50-50. So here the 50% dependency will be there, and here also few dependency will be there. So I'm just select as my phone number is one of the attribute, but these attributes, which are the columns are dependent, e-name and salary. This e-name salary depending on the phone number also. Along with I have a mail address, because it is a candidate key is always more than one. As well, it is a composite key is always more than one. Again, the e-name and salary is dependent on the mail address. So I'll just give a simple example to be understanding. So this is one of the family. So this family, four members, head of the family. Next, one more, one more, one more. Yes, just four members in this family. So this is one person. Okay, so just take it as what happened for this, why it's not working. Okay, so first person is father, so let me keep the father over here inside it. Okay, oh my god, what happened for this? Father, mother, son, daughter. So try to adjust. Okay, so now it will be set. So father, mother and son, daughter. So son and daughter, they are not financially independent. When they don't have a financial independence with each other, so obviously what they will do, they will be depending on the father. But here the both mother and father are financially independent, so that's why the son and daughter, they will be accessing the money from the father also, and along with they can access the money from this mother also, which means son and daughter depending on both father and mother. This is called as a composite key or else partial functional dependency. The last one is transitive functional dependency. I'm just going to give the very simple definition to understand this. Whenever whenever some indirect relationship indirect relationship present between the columns, I mean between the attributes cause a functional dependency. It will create a functional oh my god, cause functional dependency that is known as is known as transitive functional dependency. So some indirect relationship between the attributes caused the functional dependency is known as transitive functional dependency. So let me give the example table and select this employee table. So here I can select a few attributes. In this few attribute, what I'm going to do is I'll just create my employee ID and employee name. The employee has a city and employee has a pin code, and also let me create one more this, just adding this state of this city pin code. So here we can easily identify this. So this is my primary key, because if the employees names are repeated, or else sometimes the cities are repeated, once cities are repeated, pin code is also might be repeated, and the both are repeated means obviously the state is mandatory to repeated. So that's why I would say this is my primary key. Okay, so it will never have the duplicate values, always it as a unique values. I just take it as my Jack and Dom and Prince. So these are the persons. Okay, so these persons are working in US, and the Dom city is also US and Prince city is UK. So pin code is 101 101. This is also 101. Okay, I don't know as a state. I'm just changing this country. Yes, the country is America, and here also the same America, and I'll use this simply. This is Russia. So this is my Russia. So this is about the detail. Okay, I'll just change it as or not or two. So this is my data. So here all attributes. Okay, so this is my prime key attributes, and these are the non-prime key attributes. All key attributes. Okay, let me write it as employee ID is my main key. All attributes are dependent: e-name, city, pin code, and country. All are dependent on the main attribute. Parallelly, the few attributes means this city and pin code and country. These all are interdependent or indirect dependency, dependent on each other, is known as transitive functional dependency. So This is known as transitive functional dependency. I hope you guys are enjoyed. If you really enjoyed, you can share the video and subscribe it. Thank you.